It was a moment burned into my memory like a brand. Mandy was holding a glittering pink envelope in one hand and a sparkling cider flute in the other. She never drank alcohol during special occasions, and today was apparently one. She wore a tight, silky dress that shimmered like oil in the sun, and every person in that backyard was staring at her like she was made of stardust and miracles. The DJ cut the music. Phones went up. My mother was tearing up beside me, her hand on my arm like this was her second coming as a grandmother. Mandy tapped her glass with her ring finger and gave me a wink, like we were part of some inside joke. My heart was beating so loud I could barely hear her voice when she said the words. "I have a little surprise for everyone." She turned and faced the large white box behind her. With a dramatic yank of the ribbon, it opened, and out flew 24 helium balloons that shimmered with pastel blues and pinks. Confetti rained down. Gasps erupted. And then on cue, a massive LED screen we apparently now own lit up behind her. It read, "Coming October 22nd, Baby Jameson." There it was. The moment. The one where my life cracked right down the middle. People were screaming. Someone uncorked champagne. Her sister, Tiffany, was crying and hugging her. A lady I barely knew kept saying, I knew it, like she had been waiting for this all her life. Mandy stood in the center of it all, soaking in the praise. One hand on her flat stomach, the other waving gracefully like royalty. And me? I was standing there, smiling like a man about to vomit in his dress shoes. Because I couldn't breathe. Because I had a vasectomy 3.5 years ago. Because my wife was 4 months pregnant and smiling like the goddamn Virgin Mary. I'd had my suspicions before. Little signs. Disappearing receipts. Secretive text messages. A sudden urge to work out 4 nights a week and get her body back. I didn't question it too much. Part of me was just relieved that the tension between us had faded. But now I knew why. It wasn't peace. It was detachment. It wasn't effort. It was distance. And now she stood there, all glowing and fake tears and phony gratitude, lying to everyone she loved, including me, like it was performance art. What got me the most? She looked so damn confident. So in control. Like she had this whole thing mapped out to the second. Like I was just some pawn meant to nod and grin while she strutted around pregnant with some stranger's child in my house, in front of my mother, in front of my friends. But I said nothing. I smiled. I clapped. And I watched. Because something snapped in me in that moment, but not in the way she probably feared. Not rage. Not chaos. Something cold. Focused. Calm. I wasn't going to shout. I wasn't going to ruin her big moment. No. That's what she expected. She wanted a scene. She wanted me flustered, defensive, humiliated so she could turn it around on me. But instead, I kissed her cheek and whispered, "You did it, babe. You really surprised me." And she giggled. That was the first moment I knew for sure she had no idea. She had no clue I had taken away my ability to have children years ago. She never noticed the pamphlets. Never asked why I stopped mentioning trying. Never wondered why I never brought up the old miscarriages anymore. Because she wasn't listening. She didn't care. And now? Now, she was too deep in her fantasy to realize the ground beneath her was quicksand. So I played along. I hugged her. I posed for the pictures. I even gave a toast. My voice didn't shake once. But that night, after the guests left, and she was asleep in bed with her hand protectively cradling her belly, probably dreaming of matching nursery sets, I opened my laptop. And I began to dig. Phone records. Card statements. Work emails. VPN logs. Hotel charges. Within an hour, I had 2 names. By morning, I had 3 more. And by the end of the week, I had the footage. I wasn't just going to expose her. I was going to make her the poster girl for betrayal. But I had to wait. The timing had to be perfect. I had to be quiet. Strategic. Patient. Because a truth like this, you don't just drop it. You detonate it. And when I was done, she wouldn't be the glowing mother-to-be anymore. She'd be the liar who lit the match on her own fairy tale. And the entire damn world would watch her burn. The next morning, she was humming in the kitchen, barefoot, twirling her hair like some 1950s sitcom wife. Eggs in the pan, pancake batter splattered across the counter. She was glowing with a joy that made my skin crawl. "Babe," she said over her shoulder, "can you believe it? I mean, wow. Just wow." I leaned against the doorway, pretending to sip coffee. I couldn't stop watching her hands. Perfectly manicured, polished, clean, like they hadn't just signed the death certificate for our marriage. I really can't, I replied, letting the words hang long enough for her to glance at me. She smiled. Nervous, maybe, but not enough. Not yet. She slid a plate in front of me, kissed the top of my head like I was a damn dog, then pulled out her phone. That's when I noticed she had made a new Instagram account, at Mama Mandy to be. I scrolled through the posts she'd made overnight. The party pictures, the balloon reveal, the close-up of the pregnancy test. She captioned it, "When you know 2 hearts baby bottle." 12,000 likes. And hundreds of comments like, "You're glowing," and "He's going to be the best dad ever." I nearly cracked my mug in half. I excused myself, saying I had a conference call, and went into my office. Locked the door. Pulled out the flash drive I'd hidden in a hollowed-out book. Inside were backups. The kind of files you never think you'll need unless you've been lied to before. Which I had. Once. Years ago. Different woman. Same damn script. I opened the security footage from our front porch camera. The one Mandy never knew I upgraded to record audio. And there it was. 2 months ago. Friday night. She told me she was going to book club. Instead, I watched her step out the door in a tight dress and 6-inch heels, texting with a grin on her face. 10 minutes later, a black Jeep pulled into the driveway. She got in the passenger seat. The camera caught her saying, "Missed you," before the door closed. I paused it on her face. Smiling. Giddy. Honest. More honest than I'd seen her in years. I didn't recognize the man at first, but he'd been here before. Back when Mandy claimed she was getting estimates for roof work. His name was Ron. I remembered the square jaw, that cocky way he walked up like he owned the damn place. It wasn't just Ron. 3 nights later, another man, tall, wiry, blue ball cap, came by around midnight. Mandy snuck out the side door in a hoodie. Came back an hour later, hair a mess, eyes shining. And she kissed me in the morning like nothing happened. I felt something dark settle into me. Not just betrayal. Contempt. She didn't even have the decency to cheat carefully. It was lazy. Sloppy. Like she wanted to be caught. Or thought I was too dumb to connect the dots. That I was so in love I wouldn't dare question the miracle growing in her belly. That's what broke me most. She didn't see me as a man. She saw me as a prop. A safe, boring, loyal husband who'd keep the mortgage paid, the grass cut, and the world fooled while she played Mother of the Year to a child that wasn't mine. And now? Now she was about to find out who the hell I really was. I wasn't the man she married 8 years ago. I wasn't the guy who let slights slide, who smoothed over lies, who let her talk her way out of suspicion. No, I'd changed. And I had one more thing on my side she didn't know about. My best friend, Caleb, worked in IT security for the local sheriff's department. We go way back, Army days. He owed me his life. Literally. Iraq, 2009. That man would burn down his job if I asked him to. So when I texted him, "Need to verify something. Baby related. Urgent," he called me within a minute. "I got you," he said. "Give me 2 hours." I gave him names, phone numbers, and a date range. 2 hours later, he sent back a folder. Call logs. Location pings. Screenshots of messages recovered from cloud sync. And there it was. Plain as day. "Ron, you sure he won't suspect?" "Mandy, he hasn't touched me in months. He thinks I'm on meds again." "Ron, so you're gonna tell him it's his?" "Mandy, obviously. Let's get through the party. After that, I'll discover he's been distant and boom. Divorce. Clean break. Ron and the kid. Mandy, mine, not his. We're building our life, remember?" I stared at those words until the screen blurred. My vision pulsed. Not his. She was planning to rip apart my life and walk away with someone else's child, and still soak me in alimony, probably child support, too, if she pushed hard enough. All while parading the lie that I couldn't handle fatherhood. But she had no idea. She had no idea that every word she typed had just been copied, backed up, and scheduled. Because I wasn't just going to confront her. I was going to make her confess in front of everyone she lied to. And she'd never forget the day her fairy tale turned into a goddamn courtroom. The next few days, I became the world's best actor. I played the doting husband with precision. I smiled when she called me daddy in that nauseating little baby voice. I rubbed her shoulders, brought her prenatal vitamins, even signed us up for a goddamn birthing class. She posted pictures of us on social media, me kissing her cheek, her holding her stomach, and captioned it, #MiracleBaby, #GratefulHeart. Every like felt like a slap across mine, but I had to wear the mask. Every moment I kept the act alive was another second she let her guard down. Another moment she got cocky. That was the key, make her think she won. The nursery plan started 2 days later. She came home with swatches, Pinterest boards, and a receipt for a $1,700 custom crib. I stood in the hallway as she babbled about wallpaper and themed mobiles, watching her twirl in circles like she was starring in a Lifetime movie. All I could hear was the text, not his. I asked her, "Are we sure we're not rushing?" She blinked, caught off guard. "What do you mean?" "I just want to make sure this is real, you know? It's happening so fast." Her eyes scanned mine for something. Doubt. Suspicion. I kept my gaze soft, but not too soft. Just a touch of hesitation. Just enough to bait her. "Baby," she cooed, wrapping her arms around my neck. "I know it's scary. I didn't think this would happen either. But maybe it's fate." Fate, I thought. "You mean Ron swimmers?" I kissed her forehead. "Yeah, maybe it is." But inside, I was coiling tighter. The fuse was burning, slow and silent. That night, while she showered, I backed up her iCloud. She used the same password for everything, her dog's name and our anniversary, the irony of which nearly made me choke. And the backup was a second message thread. This one wasn't Ron. It was someone named Coach D. He sent her videos. I watched one. Just one. She was in our guest room. Same night she told me she was crying too much to sleep after a pregnancy scare. I was in the bedroom, fast asleep. He filmed her, shirtless, laughing, on my guest bed. She said, "You've ruined me, Coach. What are we gonna do?" He replied, "That baby's definitely mine. You sure your hubby won't find out?" She laughed. She laughed. I stared at the screen, completely still. So it wasn't Ron. Or maybe it was both. Either way, Coach D was now my prime suspect. I Googled the number. Burner phone. Disposable. But I recognized the area code. It was local. Small town. Too small for this many secrets. The name came to me the next morning while watching local news. Mandy worked at the high school. Substitute admin secretary nonsense. She once mentioned a guy on campus, Coach Daniels, said he was funny in an inappropriate dad joke way. I remembered that phrase because it pissed me off back then, and I couldn't explain why. Turns out my gut was right. I found his Facebook page. Standard issue meathead. Flexing in polos. Inspirational quotes over gym selfies. Deep-fried memes about alpha males. Mandy had liked over 30 of his posts in the last 3 months. Bingo. Now I had 2 suspects, 2 sets of texts, and a wife so comfortable in her delusion that she was practically handing me the evidence. But I still didn't move. Because the setup wasn't done yet. I needed one more thing. A stage. Something public. Something she couldn't squirm out of or spin to her favor. And as if the devil himself heard my thoughts, the opportunity landed in my lap 3 days later. Her sister Tiffany texted me, "We're planning a baby reveal brunch for Mandy, Sunday at the country club." Her idea. She wants to film it for IG. You in? I nearly laughed out loud. A brunch. A pregnancy reveal brunch. With video cameras. With decorations. With family and friends and a microphone. I texted back. "Absolutely. Tell me what you need me to bring." Inside, I was vibrating with fury and anticipation. Because now I had the setting. I had the footage. I had the names. And on that stage, surrounded by everyone who ever believed her, I was going to hand her everything she'd ever asked for: attention, adoration, spotlight, and then tear it all away. In front of her mother. In front of her sister. In front of every "congratulations" and "you're glowing" girl she'd ever hoarded. But first, I had to make her believe I was all in. So that Saturday, I booked a couple's massage, held her hand through a tour of the baby store, and even suggested we add a second name to the registry, just in case it was twins. She looked like she might cry from joy. But me? I didn't feel anything at all. Just the cold satisfaction of knowing her world was about to crumble, and she'd be the one who kicked down the first brick. Sunday came wrapped in sunshine and deceit. I wore a pale blue button-down, pressed and clean. My hair was combed back, my shoes shined. Mandy picked a soft pink maternity dress that clung just tight enough to make her look holy. She added a floral headband, God help me, and some satin flats. She looked like the cover of a Southern parenting magazine. Delicate, serene, fraudulent. We drove to the country club with her playlist on, soft acoustic love songs from our early days. She reached over at red lights to squeeze my hand. You've been so amazing through all this, she said at one point. I know it's been a shock. I smiled. You have no idea. She thought I meant the baby. I meant her. The moment we pulled up, I realized just how far she'd gone. A giant arch of white balloons framed the entrance to the outdoor patio. A glittering banner hung between the pillars, Mandy and Ryan's miracle, baby Jameson reveal. There were pastel tablecloths, mimosa stations, and platters of smoked salmon and mini quiches. Someone had made tiny edible favors shaped like baby bottles. A local photographer Mandy hired floated around snapping candids. Hey, daddy-to-be, someone shouted. Laughter followed. I recognized the voice. It was her cousin Denise. Loud, fake, and eager to post everything online. I hugged people. I shook hands. I said thank you a lot. I posed for photos with my hand on her stomach. I even helped her waddle up the steps to the stage they'd built by the garden fountain. She held a little pink envelope in her hands. Inside it, she'd placed a card announcing the gender. I'd seen her write it the night before, but she wouldn't let me read it. You'll find out with everyone else, she'd said, teasing me. She thought this was a dream, but she didn't see the slow hurricane gathering behind my eyes. The DJ cued a soft melody, something out of a Hallmark movie. Mandy stepped up to the microphone and took a deep breath. I just want to thank you all for being here, she began, voice trembling like a performer before the big note. This has been the most emotional, beautiful journey of my life. I stood behind her, hands clasped, the image of supportive husbandhood. You all know what we've been through, she continued. The losses, the waiting, the prayers. And now, here we are. Tears welled in her eyes. She sniffled. The crowd collectively sighed. I know Ryan and I haven't always shared everything, but this baby has brought us closer than ever. It's healed something in me I didn't even know was broken. Applause. Sniffles. One woman was already crying behind a giant pair of sunglasses. I watched Mandy glow in the spotlight. Not the glow of motherhood. The glow of control. She wasn't just putting on a show, she was savoring every second. She turned to me. Babe, do you want to say anything? And that's when I stepped forward. Calm. Composed. Ice beneath skin. I took the mic. There it was, the moment that started the avalanche. Her smile froze. Not gone. Not yet. But cracked. Her left eyebrow twitched. She didn't expect me to speak. Not really. This was her moment. Her fairy tale. I was just supposed to nod and stand still. I cleared my throat and looked around the crowd. Thank you all for being here, I said. My voice was low, even. It means a lot to us. To Mandy. Another nervous glance from her. Her hand was on my back now, squeezing once. And thank you for celebrating this miracle. I turned to her, paused. Let my gaze linger. Because it is a miracle, right? More scattered applause. A few confused looks. She told me this baby saved our marriage, I said. That it was proof that love always finds a way. And honestly, I believed her. I really did. Mandy's smile began to wither at the edges. I believed her when she said she was faithful. The patio went silent. I believed her when she said she was working late, or with her sister, or at book club. Mandy reached for the mic. Babe, can we? I shifted away from her hand. But belief is a funny thing, I said, my tone sharpening, because eventually it runs into something stronger. Something called evidence. People were no longer smiling. Phones came down. I started to Mandy. You see, I continued, I had a vasectomy 3 years ago. Some of you know. Most of you don't. Mandy doesn't. Her face lost color like someone pulled the plug on her soul. And when she told me she was pregnant, well, I was shocked. But not in the way you think. Someone gasped. The DJ turned off the music. Even the photographer lowered his camera. I pulled a small flash drive from my pocket. This contains messages, footage, logs, conversations between Mandy and not one, but 2 other men. Her mouth moved. Nothing came out. The baby she's carrying is not mine. And while I wish I could say I'm surprised, the truth is, I've seen this coming for a long time. I just didn't want to believe it. I looked at her one last time. Her mouth was open, trembling. Her hands dropped to her sides. And then I handed the flash drive to her sister Tiffany. You might want to take a look at that before the dessert table. Then I walked off the stage. But the reveal? That was still to come. Because what I didn't say on that stage was that every second of her fake performance, every tear, every fake thank you, was being live streamed. To her 54,000 Instagram followers. To her employer. And to the father of the baby, who was about to learn he'd just been publicly exposed in front of half the town and half the internet. She didn't follow me off the stage. She didn't move at all. Mandy just stood there, paralyzed, frozen in front of everyone, holding that cursed pink envelope like it could shield her from the explosion I'd just detonated. Her jaw twitched, lips parted, but no sound came out. The entire crowd sat in stunned silence, except for the shuffling of heels and sandals on concrete as people began whispering, slowly backing away like they didn't want to be near the blast radius. I walked straight past the tables, past the fountain, past the country club entrance. My hands were shaking, not from nerves, but from restraint, from how much I wanted to turn around and scream everything I'd held inside for months. But I didn't, because I wasn't done. I wasn't even halfway done. I reached my truck, opened the door, and sat for a moment staring at the steering wheel. The brunch playlist was still going inside, faintly, like nothing had happened. Ukuleles and soft harmonies trying to stitch together the world Mandy just watched unravel. Then the first notification hit my phone. Tiffany. What the actual damn, Ryan? 2 seconds later. Are you serious about this? Are you lying? I didn't answer. She'd figure it out soon enough. Then another ping. Caleb, brother. It's spreading. He attached a link. A screen recording from Mandy's Instagram Live. It was all there. Her speech. My interruption. The exact moment her smile cracked. When I said the word vasectomy, the video zoomed in slightly, just in time to catch her eyes widen and lips tremble. Over 87,000 views. 10 minutes. And it was only beginning. I took a breath, pulled out the second flash drive I hadn't shown anyone yet, the insurance drive. The one that had copies of the video from our door cam, the text logs, the screenshots. I had stored it all in a cloud folder titled Baby Bombshell. I didn't intend to upload it. Not right away. But I knew how fast lies rot when sunlight hits them. And Mandy's entire kingdom had just stepped out of the shade. 15 minutes later, as I pulled out of the lot, her mother called. I let it go to voicemail. Then her aunt. Then my boss, who apparently heard about the brunch through his wife's friend who saw it on Facebook. The video had gone viral inside our town within 20 minutes. Local moms groups were exploding. One lady who'd once shared an Uber with Mandy posted a teary 3-minute monologue about betrayal, saying she seemed so sweet. I didn't know what I expected. Maybe that she'd go quiet. Maybe she'd hide. But Mandy? Oh no. She decided to fight back. At exactly 2:24 p.m., she posted on Instagram. Today was supposed to be about new beginnings and healing. Instead, I was blindsided by a deeply personal attack from someone I loved. I will not be sharing more at this time, except to say, people will lie to hurt you when they know they've lost you. And then a black and white photo of her holding her belly, with the caption, whatever happens next, I'll protect you with everything I have. Hashtag Mama Bear, hashtag Truth Will Prevail. For 1,000 likes in an hour. Supportive comments. You're so strong. Don't let the haters win. Men can be so bitter when they're left behind. I laughed. I laughed so hard I nearly swerved off the road. Left behind. She really thought she could spin it like that? She thought I was the bitter one. The liar? She still didn't know I had everything. And the best part? Ron had just messaged me. It was simple. 2 words. You told. No apology. No denial. Just fear. I wrote back. She's yours, bro, enjoy the baby. Then I messaged Coach Daniels, from an anonymous number, attaching a photo of him and Mandy in my guest room. I included a message. Hope your wife likes surprises. Because oh yeah, Coach D was married. I found her Facebook 2 nights before. 2 kids. Bible quotes in the bio. Family Halloween costumes. I didn't feel sorry for her. I felt nothing anymore. Mandy had killed whatever softness I had left. By the time I got home, the first real damage reports started rolling in. Tiffany had taken down the Instagram video. Too late, though. It had already been downloaded, re-uploaded, shared across 5 Reddit threads. One of them titled, "Dude Nukes Wife's Baby Reveal Party in Real Time." Local gossip pages had started speculation threads. Was the baby really his? Did he make up the vasectomy? She looked shocked. Maybe she didn't know? That one made me pause. Maybe she didn't know. But that's the thing. She should have known. She knew we weren't sleeping together. She knew the dates didn't line up. She knew I'd gotten distant, cautious, quiet. She felt my absence. She just ignored it. She built a fantasy where she could cheat, lie, carry another man's child, and I'd just play along. She forgot who I was. She thought she married a doormat. But what she got was a man who waited. I don't scream. I don't hit. I don't destroy plates. I destroy plans. And Mandy's plan just got burned to the ground. Still, this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Because she still had cards to play. She had followers. Sympathy. The public stage. But what she didn't know, the worst part hadn't dropped yet. I still had one final piece of proof. One she wouldn't see coming. One that would take this from viral embarrassment to permanent exile. And the countdown had already started. That night, Mandy came home with mascara streaks carved down her face and a silence I hadn't heard from her in years. She didn't slam the door. Didn't scream. She just walked in slow, like her bones weighed twice as much, like gravity itself was turning on her. Her eyes were red but dry. Her phone was in her hand, death gripped like a life raft, screen lit with texts, alerts, pings, hell itself on display in neat little rectangles. She looked at me standing in the kitchen. "I guess congratulations are in order," she muttered. I didn't answer, just watched her, studied how her whole world seemed to shrink behind her eyes. She wasn't glowing anymore. She looked drained, like someone had unplugged her from the spotlight she loved so much. "You humiliated me," she whispered, her voice cracking. I raised an eyebrow. "Did I?" She stepped forward. "You had no right. No damn right to blindside me like that." "You mean like you blindsided me with a pregnancy that can't be mine?" Her jaw clenched. She hesitated. Then, like flipping a switch, her tone changed. "It doesn't matter what you think you know. The baby is yours, Ryan. You're just sick. Paranoid. You always have been." There it is, I thought. The spin. "You think I made up the vasectomy?" I said calm. "Want the paperwork? The follow-up tests? The results that say zero motility?" She opened her mouth. Nothing came out. I stepped forward, low and cold. "You used me. You thought I'd just fall in line like some brain-dead husband and smile for your little influencer fantasy while you carried another man's kid." She flinched. For the first time, she looked scared. Not of violence. She knew I'd never touch her. But scared of exposure. Of what I still had left to burn. "You've always been good at playing innocent," I added. "But you're not." And that's when she tried to cry. Not a real cry. Not grief. A tactic. Big, heaving sobs. Dramatic pacing. Shoulders shaking like a goddamn high school theater kid auditioning for Les Mis. "You don't understand," she screamed. "I was scared, okay? You'd pulled away. You barely touched me for months. I didn't know if you even wanted a family anymore. So you screwed 2 other men?" She went silent. My voice bounced off the walls. I hadn't raised it all week. Not during the reveal. Not during the videos. Not even when I found out. But now? Now, I wanted her to hear me. "You went out of your way to humiliate me. To lie. To sleep around like I was some placeholder. Like I was just a goddamn credit card with a smile." She looked stunned. Like she hadn't expected the volume. Like I'd broken the script. I took a deep breath. Pulled out my phone. Opened the app. And tapped play. Her voice filled the kitchen. Soft. Laughing. "If this works, I'm golden. Ryan's too emotionally constipated to ask questions. I'll just say we had a surprise blessing, and if he pushes back, I'll pull the miscarriage card." She gasped. "Where did you?" "You said that to Tiffany. Last month." She was drunk. Her phone auto-backed up to the cloud. Caleb pulled the audio. She looked like she might collapse. And for a second, a sliver of me almost felt something. But then I remembered the way she paraded me in front of our friends. The way she tricked my mother into crocheting baby clothes for a kid that didn't share a drop of my blood. So I pulled out the final folder. Do you want to know who the father is? She stared at me, lip trembling. I tossed the folder onto the table. It slid open. Inside, a printed copy of a paternity test. Not from me, from Coach Daniels. You see, what Mandy didn't know, what nobody did, was that Coach D's wife reached out to me the night after the brunch. She'd seen the video. She recognized her husband in one of the photos someone posted, lingering in the background of a party Mandy once threw for work friends. She said she had questions, so I gave her answers. In return, she gave me everything. She'd found Mandy's name in her husband's old burner phone. She'd kept it, just in case. And when I told her about the baby, she went straight to the hospital, dragged Coach D in, got a court-ordered DNA test. The result? A 99.9% match. And now I had a certified, legally admissible document that proved everything. Mandy picked up the paper, hands shaking, reading the highlighted lines over and over. No, this can't be. She looked at me, hollow, empty. You ruined me, she whispered. I leaned in, close enough for her to smell the truth. No, I said. You did that all by yourself. Then I turned and walked out, left her standing in the wreckage. No more tears. No more performances. No more escape. Because starting tomorrow, the legal war begins. She didn't come out of the house for 3 days. I know because I watched the footage. Cameras inside and out, all synced to my phone. I wasn't paranoid when I installed them. I was prepared. Mandy thought I was just weird about security. But I've always known the people closest to you are the ones you have to watch the closest. She barely moved. Slept in the guest room. Ate takeout. Sat on the couch wrapped in a blanket like some Victorian widow in mourning. But she wasn't mourning our marriage. She was mourning control. Mourning her image. The Instagram page went dark after her last post. Her Mama Mandy to be handled quietly disappeared on day 2. She didn't delete it. She renamed it. Made it private. A digital retreat. Too late. The screenshots were everywhere. The TikTok stitches, the Reddit threads, the reaction videos, millions of people had seen her face when I dropped the vasectomy line. That footage broke out of our town and into the world like wildfire. It wasn't just the betrayal. It was the way she smiled seconds before I shattered her. They called it the reveal of doom. One viral tweet read, "This man weaponized silence and dropped truth like a grenade. 10 to 10 execution. Oscar-worthy." They were already selling t-shirts with her stunned face on them, captioned "Surprise, bitch." And then came the sponsors. Not mine. Hers. The prenatal vitamin brand she'd done an ad for? Pulled out. The parenting podcast she guest starred on in March? Removed the episode. Even her favorite mommy blogger unfollowed her publicly with a post that said, "Some things just aren't forgivable." And I thought, good. But this wasn't about punishment anymore. It was about precision. I'd already spoken with my lawyer. A shark named Kennedy Marks. Clean suits, colder voice. She didn't blink once when I handed her the folder. Just said, "You want blood or you want peace?" "Both," I answered. She smirked. "Then let's build a narrative." And we did. Here's how it works when the truth is on your side. You don't just file. You set the chessboard. You plan the first 7 moves. You guide the collapse. First, we filed for divorce on grounds of adultery, supported by photographic, digital, and biometric evidence. Not speculation. Proof. Second, we submitted a restraining clause blocking her from claiming any child support from me, now or in the future, based on confirmed non-paternity. Ironclad. Third, we moved on financials. And here's where Mandy made her real mistake. See, while she was busy playing influencer, she'd been putting everything in both our names. The car? Joint. Her new boutique skincare line? Launched under our shared LLC. The house? Purchased 2 years ago, title under both, mortgage under mine. But here's the kicker. Half her followers had bought into that brand. Those DIY kits, those fake pristine family vlogs, the hashtag wife life hashtags, because of me. I was the quiet husband in the background, cooking, fixing things, making her seem real. Relatable. Stable. She built her image on a lie. Now I was about to dismantle it legally. Kennedy sent the first round of motions by Wednesday. Mandy's lawyer, some TV smiling clown named Mitch Hollins, tried to stall. Called it public harassment. She shut that down with 2 words. Breach. Fraud. That night, Mandy texted me for the first time since the brunch. "Mandy, can we talk? Just us? Please." I didn't answer. The next day, she showed up at my office. She waited in the parking lot for an hour. My assistant said she paced, fidgeted, rehearsed something out loud. I finally stepped outside when I was good and ready. She looked thinner. Not from pregnancy. From panic. "Ryan," she began. I know I messed up." I stayed silent. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I was scared. I was so alone, and then Ron Coach, whatever, he was just there. And I made a mistake. I panicked. I studied her like a stranger. "And what about the messages? The ones where you said you'd trap me with the baby? Where you laughed about me being too emotionally constipated to fight back?" I didn't mean that. I was just trying to seem like I was in control. "You know I'm not like that, Ryan. You know me." I almost laughed in her face. I thought I did. She reached for my arm. "We can fix this. I'll make a video. I'll clear everything up. I'll say it was my hormones, or that I was manipulated. Just give me the chance. Please." Ah, there it was. Not regret. Not love. Damage control. "You're not sorry," I said, voice flat. "You're just scared of losing what you built." Her eyes watered again. Less dramatic now. Smaller tears. Real ones. "Maybe. I don't care about the page. I don't care about any of it. I care about you." I smiled. And then I said what she really didn't expect. "I already sold it." She blinked. "What?" "The page. Your old brand. Your old followers. The videos we did together. The rights to your little miracle baby project. Bought by a media satire group. They're going to run a documentary. With ads." Her mouth opened. No sound came out. "And the title?" I added, stepping closer. "Lying for Likes. The Rise and Fall of Mandy Jameson." I walked away. Left her trembling in the sun, the parking lot too bright for the darkness closing in on her. She lied. She cheated. She manipulated. And now? Now she was going to learn what it meant to be on the other side of exposure. But I wasn't done yet. Because the custody hearing was coming. And she didn't even know that Coach D's wife was about to drop her own bomb. In court. Under oath. With receipts. The next week felt like a blur, a mess of paperwork, phone calls, and meetings. I stayed cold. Calculated. Every moment I spent with my lawyer or in the office was one step closer to making sure Mandy's world burned down as it deserved to. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't need to be. Anger only slowed things down. What I needed was precision. I didn't contact her. I didn't respond to her messages, her calls. I didn't show up when she knocked on my door in the dead of night with that pleading look in her eyes, the same one that used to make me fall for her apologies. The "please forgive me, I'm just a woman trying to get by" act. That version of her was gone. By the time our court date arrived, Mandy had gone silent. She didn't post. Didn't reach out. The only communication from her came through Mitch Hollins, who was beginning to get desperate. His emails were thick with threats. Some about defamation. Some about a legal misunderstanding. But they were all meaningless. Every time he fired off a new one, I laughed. He had nothing. The real bombshell was already coming, and it was coming from her side. The day before the hearing, I met with Caleb, the IT guy, the one who owed me more than just a favor. Caleb was a little sketchy on details, but I knew he was a professional. When he gave me the flash drive, the heavy weight of what was on it made my heart beat faster. "Are you sure?" he asked, eyes locked on mine. "Do it," I said simply. "I want everything." He had taken Mandy's files from the cloud backup, her phone records, her communications with Ron, Coach D, and even those late-night texts she'd exchanged with Mitch Hollins while they schemed behind my back. And Caleb had hacked deeper. Much deeper. I turned it on that night, not expecting anything too significant. After all, I had already gotten everything I needed. Or so I thought. What I found, however, nearly made me fall out of my chair. On that flash drive, I saw something Mandy never thought I'd discover. Hidden in a series of old emails between her and her lawyer, Mitch Hollins, was a set of communications that made my blood run cold. It wasn't just that she was planning to manipulate me. It was that she had already been setting up the narrative, right from the start. Long before the pregnancy reveal, long before I found out about the affair. The emails laid out, step by step, how they were going to exploit me emotionally, how she was going to manipulate the situation, and most chillingly, how Mitch had advised her to frame me as the emotionally detached husband who would turn abusive. When confronted with the idea of fatherhood, it was premeditated. She wasn't just trying to escape responsibility for what she'd done. No, she was building her defense. She wanted to make me look like the villain. She wanted to use the baby as a shield against the truth. I'd always known she was manipulative. But this was a level of calculation I hadn't anticipated. I took screenshots. I printed them out. This evidence was more than just a bombshell. It was my nuclear option. I didn't tell Caleb I had it. I didn't tell my lawyer. I was going to save this for when I needed it the most. The next morning, we walked into the courtroom. Mandy was already there, sitting with Mitch Hollins at her side. She looked smaller than I remembered. The glow was gone. The confidence was gone. Now she just looked like a woman who had been cornered, trapped in her own web. She was sitting in the defendant's seat, but she looked like a stranger in her own skin. I didn't pity her. I didn't even feel satisfaction yet. I just felt nothing. The judge called us to order. I sat across from her, my lawyer beside me, a quiet storm brewing in my chest. The proceedings began like any other divorce case: discovery, exchange of statements, request for mediation, but I knew where this was headed. Mandy, of course, took the stand first. She cried. She played the grieving wife. The "I didn't want this to happen" card. Her voice cracked as she told the court how difficult it was to be publicly humiliated by her husband's sudden outburst at the reveal party. How she was forced into a corner by my actions. I barely listened. My eyes didn't leave her face, but my mind was somewhere else, calculating, waiting for the right moment. Then, it was my turn. I didn't speak immediately. I let the silence stretch. The room waited, anticipating my side of the story. I began with a simple fact. "Your Honor," I said, my voice clear, "my wife has betrayed me. She has lied. She has cheated. And she has manipulated not only me, but everyone who trusted her." Mandy's face twitched. I could see her trying to hold it together, but the cracks were showing. I could feel it. I handed the judge the first set of evidence, her text messages with Ron and Coach D, along with the paternity test results. Mandy's head snapped up. Her hands began shaking. I continued, emotionless. "But this is just the beginning, Your Honor. The truth is, this goes much deeper, much farther." I handed over the second set of evidence, the emails. The ones between her and Mitch. The ones where she outlined how she would manipulate me, how they had already been plotting the angle they'd take in the divorce. I watched as her face drained of color. Mitch Holland sputtered, trying to object, but it was too late. The truth had already bled through the pages. Her lies were laid bare. Mandy's eyes locked onto mine, her hands pressed tightly against her lap as if she were holding herself together by sheer force of will. Her lips trembled. But I didn't care anymore. The facade had cracked, and I wasn't going to let it slip back together. When the judge dismissed us for the day, the court buzzed. The whispers were louder than ever. I could hear Mandy's voice shaking as she argued with Mitch in the hallway, but I didn't care. I had won. I had exposed her. And the next day? The final devastating blow would come. The custody hearing. The next day was the one I had been waiting for, the custody hearing. I knew this would be the real test. This would be the moment where everything could unravel. If I made one wrong move, if I let her frame me again, I would lose more than I'd ever be prepared to face. Mandy was already seated when I entered the courtroom, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her eyes darting nervously from Mitch to the door. She didn't see me immediately. Maybe she couldn't stand to look at me anymore. Or maybe she was still trying to prepare herself for the inevitable. I wasn't surprised by her appearance. She looked frail. I thought I might have pity for her, but I didn't. There was no room left for pity in my chest. Not after everything. Mitch Hollins, the same lawyer who had tried to delay the divorce, was standing beside her. His usually pristine suit was wrinkled now, his usual confidence gone, replaced by an aura of uncertainty. He knew what was coming. I wasn't the one he had to fear anymore. It was Mandy, and soon, she'd understand why. The judge entered. We all stood, and then it began. "Mr. Jameson," the judge said, her voice warm but firm, "you've already presented substantial evidence regarding your claims. Now, the issue before this court is child custody. You're seeking full custody of the child, given the circumstances. Please present your case. I nodded and stood, my mind sharp, my strategy clear. This was the part where I had to be calm, calculated. This wasn't about emotion. This wasn't about revenge. This was about securing the future of a child who deserved far more than Mandy's lies. Your Honor, I began, I'm not here to tear my wife apart. I'm not here to play games. I'm here to do what's right for this child. I glanced at Mandy. She was looking down at the table now, her face pale. She didn't meet my eyes. For months, I've been living in a false reality. I've been shown one image of my wife, of our marriage, of our life, and I trusted it. But the truth is, my wife has been lying. She's been manipulating me and everyone around her, including you all. The baby she's carrying, my supposed child, is not mine. And I have proof. I could feel the room shift. Mandy's face tightened, her lips pressed into a thin line. I reached into my folder and handed over the paternity test results. The same ones I had presented during the divorce proceedings. The same ones that had already been acknowledged by her lawyer. But now, it was time for the full impact. Mandy's affair with multiple men, including Coach Daniels and Ron, has been documented. It's all here. I handed over the screenshots, the phone records, the emails that proved the web she had spun around all of us. I am not the father, and it is imperative for the court to consider the environment in which this child will grow up. I turned back to the judge, speaking directly to her now. This is not just about paternity. It's about stability. It's about honesty. It's about making sure that the child growing inside her, whether it's Coach Daniel's child or Ron's, has a safe, loving, stable environment. And I can provide that. I looked back at Mandy one last time. You, I said, my voice dropping, have manipulated everyone. You have manipulated yourself. And now you want to manipulate this court, just like you manipulated me for years. You want the public sympathy, the image of the perfect mother. But I can't let that happen. Mandy's eyes were wide now. She was trembling. She didn't say a word, though. She couldn't. The judge nodded, taking in everything I had said. Thank you, Mr. Jameson. Please sit down. I didn't sit immediately. I stood there, my body still rigid with tension. I could see Mandy's breathing had quickened. Her hands were fidgeting in her lap, but she was completely still. Frozen. The facade she had spent months constructing was gone. Shattered. Now it was her turn. Mitch Hollins gave her a gentle nudge. She looked up at him, then at the judge, before standing shakily. I stayed standing, watching her. She was trying to put on a brave face, but I saw it now. The cracks were showing. The mask had slipped, and underneath was the panic. I didn't mean for any of this to happen, she began, her voice barely audible. I've made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But this is my child. I'm the only one who can protect him. I am his mother. Her words fell flat in the air. I watched her closely, waiting for the inevitable. She was going to beg. She was going to try and play the victim card, the desperate mother card. I've always wanted to do right by him. I've always wanted to give him a family. She was getting emotional now. Please, I need this. I need to be with him. He's my child. I'm not perfect, but I'm his mother. Please, Your Honor, please don't take him from me. She paused, eyes darting to the judge, then to me. She tried to hold herself together, but it was too late. The damage was already done. The judge didn't say anything for a long moment. She simply looked at Mandy, then at me, then back at the papers in front of her. The room was heavy with silence. Mandy's last-ditch effort to save herself seemed so far removed from the woman I had once loved. This wasn't desperation. This wasn't motherhood. This was a woman trying to control what was left of her narrative. Finally, the judge spoke. Thank you, Mrs. Jameson. I believe I have enough information to proceed. Mandy's shoulders slumped. The next few minutes were a blur. The judge asked a few more questions. Then, the court adjourned for the day. But we all knew what was coming. It was after the hearing that things began to move faster than I expected. Mitch Hollins tried to approach me in the hallway, his eyes wild, trying to salvage whatever dignity he had left. You don't have the right to expose her like that, he spat, voice hoarse. I looked at him. I have every right to expose a liar, Mitch. He gritted his teeth. You won't get away with this. I chuckled. I already have. As I walked out of the courtroom, I felt a strange calm settle over me. Mandy had fought. She had tried to manipulate the situation one last time. But I had done everything I needed to. Tomorrow, the judge would announce her decision. And the final blow? That was still coming. The truth was going to break her. The truth was going to break everything she had tried to build. And I wasn't about to stop it. Not when it was just about to reach its final, devastating climax. The end was near. The courtroom was packed. Final hearing. Final ruling. The air was thick with tension, like every breath might break it. No music this time. No banners. No brunch buffet. Just the same oak walls and echoing silence that had swallowed so many before us. Mandy sat 2 rows ahead. Alone. No Mitch. Her once polished lawyer had quietly stepped down the day before. After the evidence, after the emails, the paternity test, the recordings, he must have realized she wasn't just a sinking ship. She was a goddamn submarine imploding from the inside. She looked thinner than ever. Hollow. Her hair tied back like she didn't care anymore. Her dress wrinkled. No makeup. No pearls. No stage glow. And still, there was that flicker in her eyes. That last ember of delusion. Like maybe, just maybe, the judge would look past it all. Past the lies, the betrayals, the twisted theater she had crafted over months. But the law isn't based on performance. Not when you leave a trail of flames behind you. The judge entered. Everyone stood. And as we sat down, I felt it, the weight lifting. Like the moment before a final breath, before a storm lets go of its last drop. Then the ruling began. After careful consideration of all presented evidence, the judge said, her voice calm but stern, including medical documentation, verified digital records, and sworn testimony from involved parties, the court has come to the following conclusions. Mandy sat up straighter. Mr. Ryan Jameson is not the biological father of the child in question. This has been verified beyond dispute through multiple channels, including a court-admissible paternity test. Mandy flinched. The judge continued. Given this fact, Mr. Jameson is absolved of any and all financial obligations related to the child, including but not limited to support, insurance, or educational planning. You could hear a pin drop. I didn't blink. Furthermore, the judge said, and her tone dipped into something even colder, given the calculated and ongoing deception demonstrated by Mrs. Mandy Jameson, including false representations of paternity, intentional manipulation of public opinion, and a documented plan to defame the claimant's character. The court is issuing a permanent no-contact order between Mrs. Jameson and Mr. Jameson. Mandy's mouth opened, but nothing came out. No further attempt to solicit contact, directly or indirectly, is permitted under law. Any violation of this order will result in immediate legal action. She was shaking now. I watched her chest rise and fall like a trapped animal. The judge turned to me. Mr. Jameson, this court finds you acted with restraint, dignity, and an overwhelming commitment to the truth under deeply personal betrayal. Your actions are hereby fully supported and acknowledged by this court. She banged the gavel. It was over. Mandy sat frozen, pale, her hands clenched into trembling fists on her lap. She didn't cry. She didn't shout. She just stared, like her brain hadn't caught up yet, like she was watching a world she built crumble in slow motion. Because for the first time in her life, she couldn't twist it, couldn't charm her way out, couldn't spin the ending. There was no camera, no audience applause, no recovery arc, just silence. And me? I stood, walked out without a word, didn't look back. I got into my truck and sat there for a long time, staring at the wheel. The sky was overcast, the clouds heavy but quiet, like they were watching, too. Then my phone lit up. A new message. From Coach Daniel's wife. It's done. He signed over custody this morning. I'm taking full guardianship. The baby's coming next month. I'll raise him, and I'll make sure he knows the truth. I stared at the screen. My chest rose and fell. One more loose thread, tied. She had filed her own divorce, just a day before mine finalized. Turns out Coach D had more women on the side. More secrets. Mandy had been one of many. And now she was left with nothing but a baby that didn't belong to her marriage, 2 lawsuits pending for fraud, and the entire internet remembering her not as a mama-to-be, but as a catastrophic liar. She thought she'd trap me with a baby. She thought I'd play the fool forever. She thought I wouldn't fight back. But she was wrong. I didn't just survive. I exposed her. I ended her brand. And I walked out free. You want advice? If your gut tells you something's off, listen. Don't wait for the crash. Don't ignore the cracks. Because people like Mandy, they don't fall apart when they're caught. They fall apart when they realize you were never the fool. You were the fuse. And they lit you themselves.